Hey everyone, this is Nick from NXT Plants. In this video I'm going to do a couple repots and prop some Anthurium. Also go through and show you guys the ways I pot up different plants and the different sort of setups I use so you can get a feel for how I'm growing this year. Okay, let's get into it. First plant I'm going to do is this Bloodmoon right here. It's just doing its first cataphyll. That leaf is starting. It just hit cataphyll, so I want to give it an up pot, and I'm also going to look and see if I can take a prop off the bottom. Some scissors for that. I normally wouldn't do this close into an emergent, but it's already started the next leaf. So I got to do it now, I think. I'm going to take, it's an identical net pot, just a little bit bigger. Get a lot of questions about where to get these. They're a product that a lot of the Chinese sellers have, so you can find them on, Amazon or Ali or Temu or any of those places. The seller might change, but just look for the style. And these are just like wick pots. I believe this is an 8-inch one. Indicators aren't the best, but I like them because they're a good big wick-based pot. So to that, I'm going to add a layer of leca. I do it 1.5 to leca balls deep. Okay, and then I make sure the wick is still on top of the leca there. In this bin, I have my tree fern mix. I'll put up on screen what all that is. I currently have my Bloodmoon in my tree fern mix. I'm going to keep it in that. It's worked well. So I have that right here. I'll put up on screen exactly what it is. Yeah, I'm gonna now attempt to move it into the other pot. It's got roots at the bottom. I've been trimming them off. You guys can see me. Since this plant is healthy, I'm going to just try and reuse this substrate. Oh my gosh, it's so rooted. You can see, I think you guys can see the roots. There's a bit of glare on the screen. Wow, that is a heavy plant. That's the wick. Okay, I'm just going to set this down for a second while I think about how I'm going to do this. I think I am going to disturb the roots because I do want to take a cut. Otherwise in this situation I would, well, I should add some tree fern onto the bottom where that wick placement is. Just fill in all the gaps in the leca. Yeah, as I was saying, I think I am going to go investigating because I do want to potentially take a cut. This plant is so well rooted. Yeah, otherwise if I wasn't looking to take a cut, I would have just plopped it down in the pot without messing with the root ball, and I would have just made sure the root tips were all surrounded in material. But since I'm going to cut, I need to expose the stem. Oh, there's a creature on the table. Got our first root casualty. Whenever I do this, I'm always so amazed at how wet a root system that is as white and fluffy as this can sit. There's so much root, I'm having a hard time deciding where I'm going to try and take the cut. I would like to leave some of these lower leaves. Oh my god, the cat stole the wick. I'm having a hard time deciding where I want to cut. It's not going to be very visible to you guys. Trying to leave in, I think, these two lowest leaves. But there's no good spots to cut. Might have to go through this root. How crazy of a top cut am I gonna... I decided I wasn't going to be too greedy. Oopsies. So that's what I'm left with for the top cut. This is what I'm left with for the butt. This amount of roots is borderline. I'd probably borderline put it back in the previous pot. This I'm going to thin out the roots some. But I'm also going to apply just a rooting gel and fungicide to both pieces. Again, I say this every time, I don't know how necessary it is. I bought the product a long time ago and I'm still using it. Okay, just get it on my finger and I dab it on. I always love to leave a leaf with a cutting when I can. So I'm very pleased I was able to take a conservative cut and still have a butt. Now that it's been propped, this plant is good to go in the pot. I'm going to just scoop out a little bit of the tree fern to make room for it. Spread the roots to make sure they have a good space so I can get the substrate in between them. Sink the stump down as far as I want it. And I'm just going to scoop substrate back in. Okay, finished that one up. Gave it a little bit of a reservoir, threw it back in the tent in the same spot. Now with this butt, I was going to put it into, what should I put it into? Pretty tempted to put it back in this pot. I was going to use this pot for the other plant. Do I want to grow it in here? No, I think I'm going to move it to a different type of pot. I'm going to move the butt to one of these types of pots. Let's see. Wow, those roots are so dense. That's one thing I've noticed with the rooting hormone. So I'm going to move it to one of these square pots. I get these from a Canadian who sells them. And then the seedling size ones I ordered 1,800 through AliExpress. Where's Alibaba? They were Alibaba. Yeah, I'm gonna just add the 2 leca balls deep. I like to do this because I keep them in bins with a little bit of a shallow reservoir, and I find adding the leca layer prevents that bottom bit from going too swampy. I don't add it to the seedling cups because they're so tiny, but anything bigger than that I do add the leca layer. Okay, I just gotta thin out this root system a bit, and I'm just doing that because if I tried to pot up a root system this dense, it would all the roots would be stuck on top of each other and you'd have to deal with pretty significant root loss, and that can sometimes cause the rot to spread. So I just pick some roots up high so I can take out their whole roots. What I'm trying to do is take as few cuts as possible while still leaving lots of different roots. Lots of fresh root branches. And I'm just going through and doing that because I find that leaves you with the best chance for success with a really healthy little butt. Okay, and that feels like a pretty good amount of roots to me. I'm going to make sure they're positioned how I like, spread out. Then I'm slowly going to top up with the tree fern mix. Okay, I'm making sure that I'm keeping the roots spread as I add. And I make sure I work the little bits in between the roots. But I do like to leave the chonk exposed a little bit, especially the wound. So to me, this looks pretty well potted. The reason I put it in this style of pot is this is the style of pot I've started to like to put the props that I'm not going to be growing out to keep for myself. And since I have enough of the bin space now where I keep the bins with the shallow layer of water, so the cats are playing, this just is a very convenient way for me to pot up the plants, because this way I don't have to repot them and then wait before I would do something like ship. So that's why I like this style for sale plants, and that's just in comparison to this style. I'm going to go put this plant in a bin. Okay, next plant I'm going to do is this Papillium Fort Sherman Self-Self. I'm not going to be propping this one, I just have to repot it. I've severely neglected the repotting on this plant. So bad. I've just been procrastinating doing this one. I don't even care about those roots, so I'm just going to set you down on them. Since I'm going to have to chop off all these roots anyway. Much as I love these net pots, you really got to keep on top of the plants in them, unless you don't really mind. Yeah. With the bucket plants, at least you have years before you would ever need to repot them. These ones, not so much. So I'm just going to be ripping these roots off. Throwing them away. Now, like, this plant should have been repotted ages ago, but I didn't really have a clear idea of what I wanted to do with it. And now I have an idea of what I want to do with them. I think my plan is to self it, and then once again pull out the best grower from the batch and self again. And I think I'm going to just keep doing that until I feel like stopping. And just see what happens. I'm very curious to see how the genetics degrade. So I think it could be a lot of fun. It's in pond and it's been in its pot for a while, so I'm doing it, I think you can see it, into a trash can. Still has a great root system left. I'm gonna set it here. I don't really care about doing that good of a job with this one. It's gonna be fine either way. That root system, if it was anything but a pap, I would have thinned it out more. We'll see. Hopefully this one doesn't rot. I'm curious what will happen with each subsequent selfing. The first selfing had an almost quarter, maybe half, not quite half. Say between a quarter and like a third were variegated. Now, only one of the sort of minty ones has continued to survive and put out enough green to actually live. But I'm curious if what's going to happen, if it's going to get more and more variegated each selfing or what. Yeah, there is Fort Sherman self done. Gotta go give it the same water treatment. Here I am at one of our prop tents. Got the top shelf is super highlight zone, and then that bin sort of center on the screen is how I've been starting to transition to keeping a lot of my props. I think I'm gonna hold you guys. Sorry, it's gonna be really shaky. Then you'll see here's how I've been keeping seedlings. They're in those tiny little pots. Like I said before, no leca, just my pond mix. Some more grown out ones. These ones are in bigger pots. And again, more seedlings. Some miscellaneous thing, and there's a roto prop. But that's how I've been keeping things lately. The tent itself is a 4x2. And then I've got, again, the AC Infinity fan running in the corner. And then, again, I'm using two fans connected to one controller. Since the tents are next to each other in the same room, the conditions stay very similar. I do have a hygrometer in there, and I did check that to make sure that they hold comparable conditions. Yeah, my top shelf, calling it my highlight area. It's going to be horribly overexposed right now. Okay, drop it that ISO. Got the Mexican mint back there. Very good plumeria. Some of my orchids. And Maryland. Yeah, and that's all under a 40-watt LED bar. I'm going to show you the next tent. I've got some mint props from my Monsteras up there. A pap. But again, how I'm keeping things. There's the odd square self-watering pot in there and whatnot, but I guess these guys are just in no drainage. I don't mind that for Monstera props that I'm planning to sell. Oh god, the cat just jumped on top of the tent. Charlie, look at the camera. Oh, what a cutie. Okay. But yeah, I do keep some things in no drainage. Mainly Monstera and Philodendron props I'm planning on selling or growing out myself. Back to this, we've got a few different, seeds and different sized plants growing in those square containers that I showed you, the different sizes of them. Again, some more seedlings. And that's about it. That's how I've been doing my props and stuff recently. Okay, I gotta clean up, but I'm gonna wrap the video. Should add, I do still keep plants in the bins on those shelves that I used to film in front of. I just figured I'd show the new area and the new style of setup I'm doing for some of my cuttings and seedlings and stuff. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a really good rest of your day.